Hello, folks, and welcome to the Atomic Salt Live Show. This is the show we're going to discuss everything in the tabletop hobby world. I am Wild Chevy, and as always, I'm joined by my buddy Casey. Casey, how are you this week?
I'm glad it's a new week because I'm glad to be done with the last one. So,
Oh, did somebody eat your miniatures, or what happened?
no, nothing like that. Just I got nothing done.
Oh, that's never a good thing.
Usually you say I didn't get any hobby done because I got a lot of stuff done like in my regular life. This is not one of those cases. I can't really tell you what I got done this week on any front. So,
What
and I
happened?
bought a dog. Dog takes up a lot of time, turns out.
Oh, yeah. So, what kind of dog did you get?
He's a healer, so
So he's good
we
for dungeons.
well, how what?
So he's good for dungeons. Does that make you the tank?
Yeah. No, I'm all about aggro, so
Uh,
definitely.
Definitely need a healer for that.
Yeah, no, he's a good mutt. Just takes a little time to get a dog used to your place and get your place used to a dog. So
It's not a puppy, right?
no, we got him. He's about 4 years old. We got him from the shelter.
Yes.
So all about rescuing animals, or animals rescuing you.
So, who broke down for this decision? Was it you, the wife, the kids, an
My wife,
amalgamation?
my wife was thinking that it was time for us to get a dog, and she kind of approached me on it. The funny thing was, is I think that she was expecting a fight out of me, but I'd been thinking along similar terms for a while now, and so when she said it, I was like, okay, let's go, ready to pull the trigger.
So she probably had all those cards to play and uh, things to use against you, and she blew out of the water.
Oh yeah, it was some brilliant jujitsu on my part.
So, what's the healer's name?
His name is Perry. My daughter picked that out,
Nice.
so she's she came up with one good name, Perry, and then she immediately, like an hour later, she's like, maybe we should call him Boomer. I'm thinking Boomer's another good dog name, but if I'd let her change the name once, this dog's name is going to change like every hour for the next 2 weeks. So we're staying with Perry. That's a name I don't mind yelling all over the neighborhood, at the middle of the night. So what about you? What'd you do this week?
So, as you can see here on the screen, um, this is what I'm working on for the second round of Iron Painter. Uh, this is the end of the first week of this round. Next week is I have to get it all done and submitted.
So what's the theme of this round?
Better off undead.
So what is it that just from here looks like Kingdom Death?
It is Kingdom Death. It is the Watcher, a very ghostly, spectral creature in the Kingdom Death world.
Okay, so I don't know much about Kingdom Death in particular, only that their models are very intricate.
Yes.
So is that factor in there? You gonna have enough time to get this painted?
Well, as you can see here, I got the went and did some preliminary airbrush work. Um, been trying to focus because the light source is down here in the bottom. Because he's hollow under there.
Then what is your light source? That's a little odd to have it being lit from the bottom up.
Yeah, so that's been my conundrum. I'm gonna do it like it's in the dark, so that's why it's all lit up here. But even then, like when you're outside, when the moon's up, there's still light. So I do have my primary light source coming in from this way and casting shadow over here. So that's I have to think upside down, and that's what's goofing up my brain.
So there's like a lot of lanterns and stuff. I know in Kingdom Death, that's kind of like a prevailing theme. Is that something that he's like floating over?
Yeah, so he down here is so he's like a cloak that's got form to it. So he sits here on his maybe it's better from the back. That's how he looks. It's cloth and all that. He's got the lanterns on him, and then these ones just kind of hanging from inside of his body. And he's got this face is the other motif of Kingdom Death. So he's got this ribbon here of faces, and these like ghoulish looking streams popping out.
So you're taking a few risks on this model, or I say you're trying something new. Do you think Iron Painter is where you want to try something new, or do you think it's safer just to go with your typical style and level that you're comfortable with?
I always like to push. Uh, when I did Nancy here, that was a big push for me. That was um, it's a lot of hard work went into her, and this one I'm like undead. I'm like, um, you actually gave me an Avatars of War, um, the Lord of Pestilence, uh, not too long ago, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll want to do that. And I'm like, well, that's a zombie. I'm like, do I really want to do zombies? Or I've got some vampire stuff. I'm like, do I want to do vampire? I'm like, it's so
Those are
hard to
very
choose.
cliche.
Yeah, and I don't want to do the cliches. And so that's why I'm going to go with this like ghostly figure here.
Well, it'll definitely be different from what you see.
Yeah. And from the first round of Iron Painter, a lot of the feedback and comments I saw when the scores came up, everybody was like, well, I guess this is a basing competition now. So I mean, everybody has the same amount of time, but some people like blew it out of the water, had some amazing painted miniatures, but also amazing bases. So this one's going to have hopefully an amazing base as well.
Hmm. Well, I won't let you. I won't force you to spoil that. But do you have a plan for the base that you think is going to be interesting, and unique, or are you still iterating on that?
Like I said, this is going to be like a night motif, so it'll be him floating along a pathway, but I'll just have the areas around him just dead and like uh, make it look like it was just dried up, dead, abandoned, and then that's what I'm kind of going for. The thing
Okay.
about basing is that with bases, you don't want the bases to be too much. You want them to be there and accentuate your piece, but not um, take away from it. The
Okay. So
struggle,
what's your
the struggle is real.
so what is your deadline for this one?
I believe it's next Sunday or Monday.
Okay. Well, no gaming for you then. It's all painting.
But yeah, speaking of gaming, yeah, got in some Infinity games this week. One was a practice for our tournament we had coming up, and then the other one was a league game.
Well, how did those go?
For the league game, we played control area, which it's a very interesting um, mission. Uh, it's a quadrant control mission, so you have your quadrants in the center of the board, and then you have control spots in the center of those quadrants. You score points by dominating the quadrants, and then having you get points for having a specialist in base-to-base contact with the consoles, and that's all at the end of the game. So getting 10 points, I think it's crazy. I'm not sure how. I tried. I failed. Um, I'd love to see a list or a battle report that that shows how you could do it. Because the other thing is you have your infocom cards. So if you want to use the points on your card, you can use that at the end of the game for to dominate, or you can go for the card and get that one um, objective point. So right there, you're deciding if you want 10 points or 9 points.
And what did you choose?
I chose to go for the points. I drew.
You mean
I
go
drew.
for 10 points?
No, I went for the Infocom card. I drew a 39-point card. I'm like, okay, let's do that. It was my ace up the sleeve.
So break it down. How did the mission go for you?
Well, being that being that this was a game that um, you score at the end of the game, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go second. The list I took, I had 6 infiltrators, which was a little bit different for me, having that many guys up the board at the start. And I let him go first, and there was another Hakazan player. So right off the bat, he had his assassin Fide came up, shot some of my guys, ended up getting burnt in an ARO, and just kind of went downhill from there for me.
I am sorry about that.
No,
My last few Infinity games have been rough as well, so I feel for you. I really do.
yeah, I mean, Infinity. I mean, we always talk about the importance of terrain, and we stress on terrain, and we laugh about the Euro meta style versus the American style. But having the having very generic terrain, we used the storage terrain, which is Western style, and it, it looks good from when you're standing there. When you start playing, you realize you have all these huge open lanes, and it makes it difficult to move around.
Yes. Yes, it does. Well, unless you have something like smoke or a few other tricks up your sleeve.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I'm a big believer in.
Yeah. So I changed up my the style, and just didn't work out for me.
I'm sorry to hear that. So what about the other game then?
The other one, because we have a tournament coming up in a couple of weeks, buddy of mine wanted to try out this mission called the Nimbus Zone. And with that one, you have on the center of the board um, I think it's 8 inches off of the center.
Mm-hmm.
This Nimbus Zone that shooting through it is a -3 to your ballistic skill, and also it's a -1 to your burst. And you have 4 consoles again, and you have uh, you have 4 towers, Nimbus towers that you have to deactivate, and then there's 3 consoles down the center that you get mission packets from. So you score by having more deactivated or destroyed towers, and then having points for deactivating or getting packets. And then there's also the Infocom card as well. You can either go for to get the one objective point, or you could cancel out at the end of the game somebody's specialist. who's in base to base with one of the consoles.
which I think is just absolutely nasty.
Oh, it's nasty, and like I said, it's another one of those things. It's how confident you think you are, because it's gambled right before the start of the game. Do you want to go for 10 points or do you want to go for 9?
Yeah, and so personally, my feeling with the Infocom card is that you always want to take the points and never the classified objective. So, uh, and there's a lot of ways to break that down and take a look at it. But really, what it comes down to is do you want to take? The only reason you would ever want to take it is if you're going for a full 10 points, because the way these rounds are scored, these missions are just so swingy in terms of points that it's never going to be a really close match.
Yeah.
So like that single classified objective isn't going to flip a game for you. However, those points can make a big difference in trying to hold down one particular area. So,
yeah,
that's
it,
my thought.
it's tricky, and I love that they put the Corvus Belli put that in there because it makes you decide how you want to roll with the game.
Oh, see, I actually can't stand it. I don't like this rule at all. I understand why they put it in there, but it just feels like a very untactical thing to me.
Yeah, it's kind of like your ace up the sleeve type of thing. Um, it's not going to give you an advantage or disadvantage. It's going to be one of those things. There's can you pull it off or can you deny somebody something?
Right, but at the end of the day, it's all just luck on whether or not you get a card that's worth some points or not.
Yeah, because you're going to pick one thing and then in the game you're like, I should have picked the other.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and another person can play a perfect game, but if you just have that one card, your quote unquote ace up the sleeve, and you totally invalidate it, then how does that make them feel? Like, what's the point? All of their strategy was worth what?
Oh, I mean, because how the point system spread is for this season, that some of these missions, it's easy to get that five more points over your opponent. But if you can reduce that to 4 and give them 2 tournament points compared to 3, it could be a big deal.
True, and I'm not saying it won't be a big deal. That's not my argument. My argument is that having it takes away from the tactics of the game. You can call it that it's a new form of tactics, but when it's one of those things that you reveal at the end as a aha, I gotcha sort of thing, that's not really a tactic because that's something that the other player can't mitigate.
Oh, in my first game with the control area with the quadrants, we both decided to use our cards at the end, and he had 2 quadrants. I had one secure, and then there was one we were fighting over. I'm like, all right, boom, throw down my card, 39-point card. He throws down his on the same zone. He's got the 40-point card, and just kick in the teeth. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, so it just goes back to I don't like it. It's a part of the game, and so I'll play it and I'll use it and I'll do my best with it. But don't ever ask me to say something nice about it.
But it is definitely something. It's a little bit of luck and strategy when you're walking into these missions, whether you're going to be doing a league game or a tournament game. You have to kind of figure out how you're going to play those cards. and kind of know about what they do beforehand. Because if you're rating it right then and there, you're going to be a little bit behind compared to your opponent who's more well versed in the rules.
Sure, and I think that that's true for every rule in the game. The better you understand what your rules are and what your limitations are and what's really capable, the better off you'll be. So, do you feel you're ready? Did these games prepare you a little bit more?
Uh, yeah, I'm the few tricks that like when I know when I set up because I've had so many friends um, have deployment troops or airborne deployment troops popping in. I always have my cheerleaders facing not up the board but around the board, and I'm just I need to rethink my list and what I could bring, and most of that is like how I can. I want at least a good something good chunk of points, maybe at least a quarter of my points dedicated to saving my back line. And I'm thinking about how I'm going to do that. I've got a few 360 visor troops that I could take and just like figure out where to deploy them. I've got access to uh, a remote that's got total reaction at HMG. So just a little different, rethinking how I play.
Sure, a total reaction HMG is always nice. I'll never say anything bad about it. Um, and defending your backline can be important. I think it's more important just like how you set up, and especially how you want your army. Do you plan on actually having a backfield with a bunch of cheerleaders hanging out in it? Or do you plan to have a more mobile army where you're going to be committing them? Because in missions like this one and in quadrant control, uh, every point that you don't commit into one of those quadrants is a point that your opponent really doesn't have to deal with.
True.
And so if you're able to either use link teams or coordinated orders or some other kind of movement shenanigans to start them outside of your deployment zone in a quadrant, you're that much better prepared. Because if you and let's say you throw 300 points out of your deployment zone into those quadrants, that is a full 300 points that your opponent then has to match. And so he has to then move his whole army out of his deployment zone. And if he's not prepared to do that, which to be fair, in Infinity, a lot of people aren't, because a lot of people have this home base mentality. And if he's not ready to do that, those are less points you have to win, and you automatically have an advantage over him, just in the design of your list.
Yep. It's good food for thought.
It's almost like I've been thinking about this sort of stuff a lot.
And like you said, your last couple of games for yourself have not been too great. So have you been rethinking your style of play?
What I've really been. My last few games, I tried changing a few things up, and I found that if I go with what works, things work for me. If I try to get all fancy and do all sorts of really cool stuff, it doesn't work for me. So as much as I'd love to make these way awesome, memorable things happen with cool characters, I really just need to stick with the old reliable. You know, there's a reason why they're my old reliables.
I get that. I'm feeling the kind of same way because I took some troops that I never took before, felt them out. I'm like, no, what? I miss having a FIDE. I miss that option um, to throw smoke, shoot through with a visor.
So, hey, did you know something? You should never, like, if you're ever feeling down about your painting skills, never, ever, ever go to putty and paint. Like, just don't. Consider it porn. Just don't touch it.
Well, uh, I mean, a lot of, and you're gonna see a lot of crystal brush and trees on there.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, this is like the best of the best.
Did you see the garrosh? The he it was interesting because Adepticon happened last weekend. Crystal Brush happened there. You can find the photos of Garrosh from World of Warcraft. This guy sculpted it up. It's a huge sculpt. Looks magnificent. Looks like it came directly from the game. And his buddy painted it. His buddy got the crystal brush from it, and like earlier this week, there was just like a flame storm on uh, kind of like I call it the T-ball mentality. People whining that they didn't get a trophy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what it was. It's just like um, this guy had a huge rant on Facebook, um, and the people who were actually there, who got to see everything in person, were defending the Crystal Brush folks, but this guy was like, well, this guy didn't do everything by himself. His buddy sculpted up the piece.
Mm-hmm.
All he did is paint it. And I'm like, but everything that you buy, somebody else sculpted.
Sure.
I mean, right here in front of me, I did not sculpt this up. I bought it, and by and large, somebody else got the credit for doing this. I'm just putting paint to it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, people on the internet are going to complain, and I've seen everything there, and I've kind of heard it all, and I think that they're just like you said, it's a T-ball mentality. Everybody, those who didn't get something wish that they did, and they're just complaining because they didn't. So
I will say, the online voting, while it is interesting aspect of uh, Crystal Brush, I just can't do it. it, it you go to Cool Mini or Not, and you see like you see somebody do a phenomenal paint job, and it gets this like mediocre score. But then you see somebody do a Space Marine, and it gets like this just a basic level of Space Marine, and it gets this huge score, and you're like, why is that? And just because a lot of people, it's online voting is very subjective, and people like what they like. And so when you have a huge competition and you open it up to people's choice, then it gets kind of weird on what they pick.
yeah, I'm with you there, and you just need to remember that when you open it up to online, you never know what's going to happen, and you should never take what you get out of there too seriously.
Don't take life
So
too serious, folks. You'll never get out alive.
at the end of the day, it's just painting.
So I see you're looking at Prince of Hell from Jarhead.
Well, yeah, that was because I know you're working on underlit things, and I remember seeing that a while ago. I was like, oh, hey, that might be useful to him.
I love Massive Voodoo. Those guys do an amazing job, and I love how they go through and show their process.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's it for me this evening. Do you got anything else, Ellen?
I
It's a short night, but
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be painting for next week. Gotta get things done. But yeah, anything you're looking forward to this week, Case?
looking forward to. Hopefully, we'll try and get some games in this week. So, cross your fingers there. I don't know what it'll be, but we'll just try and get something in.
Cool. All right, yeah, and ditto here. It's decapitation for this week of the league, so I got to figure out how to do that mission. But yeah, um, I saw that GW's got a new supplement for Space Marines. I'm like, yay! Something I can't use because I run Blood Angels and Grey Knights.
Yeah, because we always need more Space Marines.
But yeah, that's about it for me, folks. Short night for us, guys. But let us know in the comments below. I mean, we talked about Infinity tonight. We talked about painting. Um, Chime in the comments. Let us know what you think. Like us, subscribe, comments. That all helps out. Casey, anything else?
No, that's it for me. Just as always, if there's something you'd like us to take a look at or like us to talk about, shoot us an email at theatomicsalt@gmail.com. This is the Atomic Salt. We've just blown your mind.
Remember, folks, always trust your healer.